Thank you for having me. My name is Lotus. I'm 22 years old, 23 in a few days. I'm from Kibbutz Nir Oz. First, I would like to apologize. I'm not used to speaking in front of a big audience, and for obvious reasons, speaking about October 7 will make me emotional. So I am sorry that my voice is shaking and I will probably cry a bit. I imagine most of you have never heard of Nir Oz before October 7th. It was a beautiful, quiet kibbutz, a small paradise. My grandparents were among the founders of Nir Oz, and my mother and I have lived there for the past 6 years. It was a place built on values of community, peace, and coexistence and mutual help. For years, we believed that living so close to Gaza didn't have to mean living in fear. We believed in dialogue, in hope for peace, and that people in Gaza just want to live their life peacefully, just like us. We were deeply involved in actions for peace, like driving people from Gaza to get special treatments in Israel's hospital. Today, as I stand here, it feels almost surreal to mark this anniversary. On one hand, every detail of this day is burned into my memory as if it happened just a few moments ago. And on the other hand, it feels like a nightmare from a different lifetime. And in many ways, it is not over. There is still 101 hostages in Gaza. The war still rages on, and we are still displaced from our homes. The attack destroyed not only our homes, but also the idea that we once held. The only thing I can offer you today is my own story. The irony of that morning is that we were not even supposed to be in Nir Oz. The night before, we had a family dinner, and the plan was to stay at my aunt's house, but I wanted to see a friend that came back from traveling that day. So we returned to the kibbutz. I stayed up with my friends until 3 a.m., just 3 hours before our life, as we know them, have changed forever. At 6:30, we were woken by the sound of the alarm and bombs. We rushed into the safe room, still clinging to the hope that everything will be fine, that this is just another escalation in the conflict that we have learned to live with. But nothing could prepare us to what was coming. A minute after this alarm, I went outside to bring our dog, and I grabbed my mother's phone that was by the door and rushed back into the safe room. After less than 5 minutes, we started hearing non-ending shootings very near the kibbutz. We realized that this is not normal and we have to find a way to lock the door because the safe room is not actually locked and it can be opened from the outside. So we started asking people from the kibbutz if they know how to lock the door. No one knew. Most people didn't even realize how bad it is. We decided to turn off the lights and keep quiet, so maybe it will increase our chances to survive. We stood near the entrance with a hammer and a screwdriver, knowing that if they will come in, we don't stand a chance against rifles and grenades. Luckily, my mother have a sibling who lives very close to Nir Oz, and he sent us a picture of the makeshift lock that he created in his safe room. We tried to copy the photo that he sent us with what we had. So we took apart a vacuum cleaner and a rowing stick and tied them to the door handle, all in pitch dark, trying to keep it as quiet as possible. Then we laid under a table, holding each other and just waiting. We soon started getting messages from people in the kibbutz begging for help, that the terrorists are in their homes, that they are injured, that they lost contact with family members, and there is nothing we can do about this. We were just laying there in pitch dark, waiting. After about an hour and a half, they reached our neighborhood. We heard them coming with motorbikes and cars, shooting outside, screaming, breaking things. Then they entered our home. The first thing they did was shoot. They were screaming. It sounded like about 7 big men, armed, trying to break into the safe room's door. Luckily, they didn't manage, but I felt like those are my final moments. My first reaction was panic. Then I chose to calm myself. I chose not to die in fear. So I hugged my mom. We said goodbye words to each other and just made peace with the fact that this is the end and there is nothing else we can do about this. I asked her not to scream when they enter. I didn't trust this makeshift lock. But somehow, faith or miracle or I don't know, it worked and they didn't manage to enter the safe room. We thought that this is over, but unfortunately they entered our home 5 more times during this day. Some of them were trying to break into the safe room door. Some of them, later we discovered, were civilians that came to steal things, like my phone, TV, bicycle, really everything they could grab. We were about 12 hours. We were there for 12 hours, no food, no toilet, no water. And then the IDF soldiers came and rescued us. They took us to a big kindergarten where they collected all the people that survived from the kibbutz to there. And then we saw that 117 people out of a 400 people community are missing. At that point, we still didn't know what happened to them, if they were killed, if they were taken hostage, or maybe they will just show up in a few minutes. Unfortunately, none of those 117 people showed up. We spent the night in this kindergarten, sleeping on the floor, no food, very few water because the terrorists decided to destroy all the water system in the kibbutz. And we were just there. Most people were still covered in ashes. A lot of them were bleeding, no shoes, still in our pajamas. The day on October 8th, in around 4 p.m., they allowed us to go with a few soldiers to our homes, only the lucky ones that still had a home to go back to, and grab a few things. Of course, I searched for my phone, the first thing. It was not there. Then I searched for my wallet. It was not there. I searched for my ID. Was not there. My passport, my shoes. And my room was so messy that I couldn't even find a proper pair of clothes. So I just left with a plastic bag. We were taken to Eilat. We stayed in a hotel for about 2 months. And since then, the community lives in Kiryat Gat, which is a city in the center of Israel, in a few buildings, which is, as you can imagine, is very different than what we're used to. But life continues. Time moves forward even when you feel stuck. What we have learned through this this horror is the value of a community, the strength that comes from standing together, both outside and inside of Israel. We have learned to cherish every moment, every small ray of hope, because in the darkest times, even the smallest light can make all the difference. To find power to rebuild not just homes, but hearts. We have chosen to be there for each other. In the worst of times, we discover that the community is not just where you live, is who you live for. Thank you.